Howdy Hexers, I'm Mokog and welcome to Hex Hunter. For those of our community who are not wholly invested into following every tweet or scrap of information regarding the development of Hex, it may be a surprise that HexSite has intermittently set up a test server that allows early access to their arena system, as well as these really cool things they came up with called Primal Limited Events, or in short, they're often called Primal Sealed or Primal Draft. This is really a fantastic development. It provides a real release valve for the most fanatical Hex followers, and it also gives Hex HQ some additional testing data. What I want to look at today is what Hex is getting right in the arena, and some areas that I think can use a little bit of improvement. A few of the things that they are getting right is they are integrating lore into their play experience. From the very beginning, we learn about Hogarth's personality, how quirky that character is. The character design is well put together. The details are very much surrounding what Hogarth says and the pop-ups that occur. Every deck that appears also happens to be a thematic encounter. They did a very good job of integrating the cards to the character type that comes in. And the differences that occur between some of the characters as you go through the events adds even more. And plus also, they have a surprise challenge that can give you a huge hoard of loot if you happen to beat it, and when it comes up, it really is a big surprise. The other thing is that they've made bosses feel very distinct from standard encounters, and the standard encounters can be very challenging depending on what you bring to the table. The boss counters take it up a little bit of a notch each time, and there's challenge at every tier of play, which is very significant. You can find a champion at any one of the tiers, but when you get to the bosses and the later tiers, they've enhanced the challenge for progressing to each tier with loot and gold drops. And for increasing the challenge for being able to beat those, they applied equipment to these AI opponents. And that makes a drastic change for anyone who's used to the PvP element of the game, because some cards get distinctly more powerful and much more troublesome if you are not used to the type of equipment they use. And this is really leading to a huge amount of replayability that comes in, because though you could play the arena with the same deck over and over, you're not going to get the exact same results every time you step in. You're not going to get the exact same challenges. And a deck can easily go 0-3 and wash out of the arena that could once been a very vibrant standard tournament deck. One of the other things that I really enjoy is I enjoyed the integration of equipment as they are putting it in. The deck building aspect has been fantastic. It's also fun to give yourself the challenge of doing what I like to call naked runs through the arena, where you're running without equipment to enhance your challenge a little bit more. In many cases, some decks will require equipment to be able to progress well, and some decks will make very little headway without putting some focus on that. One of the other great things that I think has been done very well for Arena is the ability to save your progress in between your games. This is really great for our time-constrained players. Sometimes you can only get in a couple AI games. It's good that to run through the whole process, you don't have to do it in one sitting. With all those fine points made, there are some areas for improvement. There are some basics. We'd like to see some functionality added sooner rather than later. We'd love to see the opening of chests and the rewards that can come from that. We'd love to see the Kickstarter PvE rewards fully implemented. We want to make sure that when Arena launches, it will be able to take the influx of new players and be stable, and there are some bugs that still need to be squashed. But we know that the Hex team is working on all those technical promises, and those are going to get in where they're going to get in. That's not really the focus I'd want to bring here. I really want to look at the opportunities that Hex has to separate itself from the other digital TCGs that are out there. One of the places I think we could have a little more focus on is the dialogue boxes that Hogarth uses when he challenges and enhances various parts of your arena experience. Many of these boxes allow you to essentially click to make it go through. At the moment, they're operating very similar to an OK button. I think when these challenges come up, it's a great spot for you to use a dialogue tree of some form that you might even be able to use to increase or decrease the difficulty of the challenge. which of course you could tie to rewards or future things happening in your arena run. It adds a little bit more interactivity, even if there is not an actual power change that occurs to your arena run. One of the things we have this absolutely a beautiful, beautiful arena background, but we have very little interaction with it. It's just a backdrop. I'd love to be able to actually explore this arena so that it really separates itself from a lot of the other linear experiences. Even with this being the beta project for PvE, it would be very good to have a little more interactivity with the beautiful backgrounds that they've ended up creating. One of the forum suggestions for PvE, I think that shines through really well, is to include animations on various cards. This is a significant increase in production value, but when you start animating various cards, it just adds another element. And if you use it to animate PvE cards, and especially PvE AI only cards, it gives you a lot more characterization of that AI piece. That is a significant work increase, and it's not a really big core aspect of how the PvE interacts, because that's going to be your lore and your card interactions. It would be absolutely beautiful though, and I think it would really add a lot more to the PvE experience. Now that said, Arena happens to be at the standard, top end of the standard, but the standard end of progression for digital TCGs, which have generally been straight line progressions and going from increasing challenges. Now that aspect's there. It's more varied in Hex, but in the end, you still always progress to the new next challenge, one right after the other. Very little movement, very little additional interaction along that. One of the things I would like to see is, if you happen to lose to a particular encounter, we do end up pushing on to the next encounter. You don't have to repeat it, but if we got some input from those characters who won, maybe certain characters want to help you, maybe certain characters provide advice, maybe certain characters taunt the player as they're going through. I think adding a little bit more to the effective ice sculpture type elements, giving them a little personality, maybe having them act out some of Hogarth's quirkiness that he has as a character, can provide a deeper understanding of what's going on with the lore of the arena, and add just a little bit more fun. Make us pay attention in between rounds, that we're not just clicking in between or deciding whether or not we want to push forward or just save our progress and log out. I think that landing screen can be a little bit more interactive in between each of the rounds. All that being said, the arena experience that's coming out from Hex right now, that's in their test servers, and just after their most recent update, we have significant AI improvements already. The stability has increased dramatically. It is a joy to play. It presents unexpected challenges, and it has been thoroughly fun. I can't wait for this to actually hit the beta servers and we can start keeping the equipment and really playing through and doing a lot more with the arena PvE. This PvE is just the beta PvE and is but a taste of what Hex has planned, and I can't wait to see more. So as always, I'd like to thank y'all for watching and listening. If y'all have any questions, comments, concerns, go ahead and leave a message down in the comments. Go ahead and hit that follow and like button if you'd like to see more of this content. We're going to be attempting to get into a much greater content groove than what we've been over the past few months. But as always, I'm Mokog, and this is Hex Center.